Hey guys, welcome back. This is the Sydney Grace Enduring Love palette. And I'm gonna do 3 looks with this palette. I haven't done a 3-look one palette video in a little bit of a while. So I've already got my kind of base makeup done. And I haven't even used this yet. I'd pulled this out because I was going to do some testing. This was gonna be one of my go-to palettes for the month. And then I've been distracted. So today we're gonna use this one because it's really beautiful. I mean, look how pretty that is. Cool tones, gorgeous. If it's anything like the other Sydney Grace products that I have, it's gonna be a joy to work with. So I'm gonna grab a brush here. We're gonna do 3 looks. I think I'm gonna start with, you know what? I kind of wanna break these down by rows. We're gonna do a look with each row. That just kind of seems to make the most sense. So we're gonna start with this right on here. I'm gonna start with this as my like transition shade. I think you guys are close enough. If I have to, I'll bring the in editing, but it does have a nice mirror. It's a nice, you know, cardboard component with a mirror. There are 15 shades in this. The palettes are a little on the pricier side. I mean, they're not a ColourPop. They're not e.l.f. They're not BH Cosmetics. They're not Makeup Revolution. They're not those. I did put a little of the MAC Painterly pot, and it's had plenty of time to dry down now too. That's a nice kind of like subtle, easy wash of color. I'm okay with that. I just feel so bad because I had intended on playing with this a while ago, and I was gonna become an expert on this palette and then come to you guys. And sometimes I find when I start playing with a palette and don't actually film with it, I get bored because I've been using it for weeks, and then I'm ready to go on to something else, and then I just don't share my enthusiasm with you guys. And I feel bad for that. How are you guys doing? I think some days I feel like, oh, you could almost tell it's spring, and then other times I'm like, oh, this winter's never gonna end. Okay, going into this darker plum color. I guess the first one was called Juliet. This one's called Darcy. Why do I feel like these are, oh, Romeo, Juliet, Devotion, Darcy, Elizabeth. So I guess I'm getting lots of famous romantic couples, huh? That's actually kind of pretty. I don't know, am I too, can you guys tell? Am I too washed out? All right, we're gonna go in with Romeo all over the lid, and then I'm gonna top it with that shimmer. Oh wow, that has way more shimmer than I thought it was gonna be. I thought it was almost like a kind of a chalky, pale, pink, lavender kind of color. This one's Romeo. Sure does brighten up the eye, man. I was expecting that to be way more chalky than it actually is, so that was a pleasant surprise. I love it when these indie brands have good products. I'm just so excited for them. Okay, that feels very bright. Now I'm gonna take that same brush that I've been using. I'm gonna go into Devotion, which is the shimmer, the serious shimmer that's in this roll. That other one wasn't, I didn't realize that was as sparkly as it really was. Okay, I like this because I think it kind of warmed up that look a little bit more. It's more of a champagne color instead of such a stark white. And I like that much better. It's not as stark of a contrast, and I think it kind of softens down that look too, so that it's not so jarring. I like that. Like in general, it's a pretty good daytime look. I want to go in a little bit more with that darker Darcy color. I'm just kind of build that up just a little bit more where I want that shape. It's that hooded eye thing. You got to get the angle just right to get rid of that overhanging hood. Otherwise, I mean, when you get hood heavy, man, it just looks, you just look tired. And you can still do it with subtle shades. Like you don't have to go, you know, super smoky to get it done. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna drag a little bit of that same color down here. But man, if you do something too bright or too sparkly or too light up there and don't get the shading just right, it can be kind of obnoxious. I've got a little tiny pencil brush here from Sigma. I'm gonna put a little setting spray on it, and I'm gonna go into Elizabeth, and I'm gonna use Elizabeth as kind of like my liner. We're gonna use Better Than Sex mascara because why not? So I'm gonna put some mascara and I'll be right back. Look number 1 with this palette. I did use every shade in that first row, and I didn't let this purple intimidate me at all, but I can see how using that instead of these softer, more delicate pinks would be super fun. If you guys are loving like the cool tone palettes, I know this is a little pricier, but this was no challenge at all. Yeah, I used 5 different shades. Did I need to? No, of course not. You could easily get a look with a couple different shadows in this, and I'm thrilled. So as much as I hate to, I'm gonna take this off. Let's come back with a second look. Be right back. Okay, back. No MAC Paint and Lily pot this time. I used the e.l.f. I think this is just like an eye base. Actually really like it. I think it's a dupe for the Becca eye brightener. Not the blue one, but the flesh colored one. Okay, we're gonna use the second row in the Enduring Love palette. I think I'm gonna start with Victoria. This one right here. It's more of like a taupe, less gray toned, more taupe. Victoria and Albert. This must be the queens, huh? The queen, well, Albert's probably not a queen. That Victoria shade is a really, really nice shade, especially for glasses. I think it's like the perfect taupe for me. I could see easily doing this just sort of all over the lid with a little eyeliner and some mascara, throw on the glasses, and either work or head to a business meeting. I like these palettes that kind of do the work for you. Okay, we're gonna move into Passion. I'm gonna use that as my crease shade. I feel like I've got a little patchiness. I don't know if it's translating or not in there, but much as I like that e.l.f. primer, I don't think it's the right one to use with this palette. Okay, we're gonna take a little bit of Boaz on the outer corner up against my lash line. I feel like this shade could be really stunning as a liner too. Like I think you could probably get it damp and then really be saturated, kind of what it feels like. And it's also one of those shades that I think you can blend over the top of something to give you that sort of really smoky, beautiful richness. I like that a lot. It's not a true rich black on first application, but boy, you can really build it up. Wow, smoky and pretty. It's looking a little muddy, but I'm gonna clean that up here as soon as I change my battery. So give me just a second. Hopefully I've got you in roughly the same place now that I've got a new battery in here. So we're gonna go back in to this shimmer in here called Albert. I guess it goes with the Victoria thing. This one I'm going to put on with my finger, and I'm just tapping it on there because it is very foily, and I'm just kind of pressing it into my eyelid. And because I have fat fingers, I've already drug it down underneath here, so I'll have to clean that up here in a second. All right, we're going into Ruth on a little bit of a damp pencil brush, and that is going to be my bold eyeliner. Sometimes I don't do a whole lot of like crazy bold eyeliner just because I already have small eyelids to begin with. Man, sometimes it can be really fun to do something more exotic, especially for date night. Cleaned up a little bit of that. We're gonna put on a little bit of mascara and I'll be right back. This is significantly darker, smokier, but I love the blue up against brown eyes, and I think this is a really, really nice, sultry kind of date night look. It's more mysterious, more exotic, and I love it. Okay, I'm gonna come back and we're gonna do one more look. Okay, since I didn't love that e.l.f. primer underneath here, I got an ABH eyelid primer, and I don't normally use this one because it's so thick. We're gonna try this third and final row. I'm gonna go into this like little neutral transition shade, probably one of the more neutral shades I've seen in a long time. It's called Cherish, and I'm gonna use that as my transition shade, whether it's this eyelid primer or whether it's the shade, but I really have had to go into it a bunch of times. I think almost I might like that shade without anything underneath it. But you know what? When we're talking transition shades, better to go with a lighter shade that you can rich and deepen up than a shade that is too bold. I'm gonna go in this brown, too bold, and then it takes forever to shear it out. So better to go in with something that you can then doctor as you need to. And that is one of the prettier browns. That seems weird to say, pretty brown, but this Robert shade in here, wow. One of the prettier browns I've seen in a long time. There's a little bit of almost like, you don't notice it in the pan because it just looks like a teddy bear brown. Like that just looks like any normal regular brown, right? but on the lid, it almost takes on a little bit of like a gold sheen to it. The other thing about that ABH primer, and I don't think about it until, because I hardly ever use it, when I put it on, the first thing I noticed was, oh, that kind of like stings my eyelids a little bit, but I don't know if it's because micellar water that I was using to remove the previous kind of irritated my eyelids a little bit. So if you've got super sensitive skin, that ABH eyelid primer might not be the right one for you. Leave me a comment down below, tell me. Do you guys use that primer and does it irritate you at all? Inquiring minds want to know. I'm gonna take Deanna, which looks like this kind of gold green iridescent, beautiful, beautiful shade. Wow. And a lot richer than one would think. And I've taken that all over my movable lid. That shade I thought was gonna be significantly lighter in gold, and it is really, really rich. It has that deep camo green kind of opacity to it. I'm digging it. I'm gonna take a little bit more of that brown over the top of it though. I didn't mean to be doing this like camo look. And if you guys have been here more than a minute, you know that I do actually like green eyeshadow. I'm gonna go back into Cherish over the top just to kind of soften it up. I do have a little bit of fallout on that, but that's okay. We can still clean that up. I'm gonna go in with John, which is the lightest shade in here. We're gonna take John, which has a little bit of a green undershift to it. And we're gonna go right over the top. A little bit of a halo, layered halo look, I guess we'd call it. I'm gonna take a little bit of that in here. Very, very iridescent. The only shade I haven't used in this entire palette is the very last one, and that's this purple down here. I'm gonna use that up against our lash line. I did not wet this brush at all. I didn't want anything too intense on that lash line. I do like that green and that lighter shade together. I think that's really pretty. I need to do a little bit of cleanup around my eyes, put on some mascara, and I'll be right back. Back with our third and final look using the Sydney Grace Enduring Love palette. This ended up being way more, again, dark and smoky and more exotic than I thought it was. The real surprise in this whole palette was this green down here called Deanna. It is the way, I mean, in here, I mean, it looks like a pale kind of greenish gold, a little bit of a shift. It is not how it looks in the pan. And that's a surprise, and not a bad surprise because I like grungy greens anyway. This maybe turned out slightly muddier than I needed it to be, but I actually think it's really pretty and I like the way it cleaned up. So anyway, you guys, I hope you guys are doing really well. If you've never purchased anything from Sydney Grace, again, I don't get anything in PR. I'm not on anybody's, you know, list. I bought this with my own money at the recommendation of you guys, actually. But if you've never tried anything from Sydney Grace, if you didn't pick up the Mel Thompson palette, which I love, it's such a fun, spring, beautiful palette. This to me is the grown-up, more mature winter version with all these cool, beautiful jewel tones. And this gives you so much to work with for a variety of different looks and different circumstances and situations. I love it. I'm gonna use a little setting spray and I'm gonna get out the door, and I hope you guys are doing really well. And until my next video.